So I think we'll probably move now into some NBA chat.
So the season obviously started since our last podcast.
Five games deep for most teams now.
Yep.
So running through it, Sixers, Pacers, Hawks and Magic are the top of the East at 4-1. The Clippers and Suns are at 4-1 and the top of the West. And the Wizards are the only team at the moment on 0-5.
Yeah, that's pretty cool little stat there. That there's 29 teams that have won a game in the first 5-ish games in the NBA. Wizards obviously hurting from the loss of John Wall. They could be a bit stinky this year.
Well, Wall played his first game. I don't know when it was in the recent days.
In the last few days,
the last game for Houston, he was a part of it. Was his first game. Bit of talk about James Harden going out to strip clubs.
James Harden loves strip clubs.
Yeah,
he loves it. Maybe it's not the best time to be doing it with the COVID and this and that, and
yeah.
But
if the worst thing you get from the strippers is COVID, I think you've done pretty well.
Well, he went 44 points and was at 17 assists.
Yeah, 17 dimes and 44 in his first outing there for the Houston Rockets. The beard is an absolute freak. Not bad out of a guy who apparently wants out.
Yeah. Well, as you talk, he hasn't been traded yet, and there'd been talk about the 76ers and Simmons being the trade bait there, but Simmons has been playing pretty well of late and had a good season so far too, so no movement as yet for
Can
that.
you give us a date on the NBA trade deadline? Because normally I think it's around about now, but with COVID they must, I'd imagine they've extended it. It's normally, a few months into the season.
Yep.
Maybe he stays this year.
So it looks like it's
they're
potentially going to be the 25th of March.
Oh, so ages. Yeah. So we might be talking about this for another 12 podcasts.
Let's hope
not. Sure. He's top 5 players in the NBA.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Massive.
He won an MVP 2 years ago.
Yep.
So and still playing at that kind of level.
Yeah.
Wouldn't read too much into him being at the strippers if the team hasn't sanctioned the beard gonna go make it rain. Yeah. And why wouldn't you?
So the Bucks broke the 3-point record during the week as well in a game with 29 against the Miami Heat, who actually played in the playoffs last year. They've had a bit of a slow run. Playing the finals, of course,
against the Lakers.
Been a bit slow to start this year, though.
Interesting because they played a 2-game series. They lost the other one against the Heat. So I suppose when you're on, you're on. I think the most interesting thing from this particular game, they had 13 guys get on the court.
Have minutes, yep.
12 guys got a 3-pointer. Do you know who didn't?
The Greek freak.
Big Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He loves his boards. He's going to go in deep.
Yeah, and obviously very good in the paint. Not renowned as a 3-point shooter, does get them on occasion. He was the only guy that didn't get one. The thing that this says to me is the Bucks have got some real nice depth.
Well, that's probably what you want. You want shooters to go around Giannis, so he can play his game, which is, like you say, a bit more physical, a bit more in the paint.
Yeah. And no one went mental. I think Drew Holiday had 24 points. I think he might have had 4 threes. Chris Middleton, I think, might have had 3 or 4 threes. But it wasn't like a game where, when the Warriors have gotten 3-point records where you just got Steph and Clay just going absolutely bananas whilst the bench just watches. So it's pretty cool for Milwaukee to get this record with 29 threes. They ended up absolutely smoking the Heat. I think it was a 49-point win or 47-point win there against the defending East champions. The Bucks, again, like last year, obviously the real
They should
deal.
be a force this year.
Yeah. And I think that in the East as well, that it's not probably the depth as you do have in the West. Obviously, the Bucks getting that number 1 seed last year, they just couldn't do it when it counts. I think they'll be very hard to beat this year in the East.
Yep. So the last note I had here was Kawhi Leonard took a bit of a knock from one of his teammates, and he's been wearing a very interesting face mask, looking a bit like Hannibal at the moment.
So he ran into Serge Ibaka. Obviously, at the Clippers these days, Kawhi Leonard had 8 stitches to fix up a laceration in his mouth. I think
Yeah, probably got a knock and one of his teeth probably cut it in there.
Something like that.
Done that in the past.
Yeah, it's sort of like a clear Jason mask.
Definitely. Yeah.
So he's been getting roasted a little bit.
Twitter we get after
regarding that. I don't think he'll have to be wearing that too much. I suppose whilst the stitches are in, they're probably just trying to protect that. Obviously, the Clippers are going to be a really strong team this year in the West. You'd think them and the Lakers are the teams to beat. Yeah. Obviously, very early stages.
Definitely very early in the season, and we will track it as they get a bit deeper, and we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, exactly right. Coming in to the next few weeks, we've still got a lot of NFL and